Greetings, Earthlings, and welcome back to Podcastage. I thought it might be a fun way to wrap up 2023 by doing a little bit of a Q&A video, so I pulled a couple of questions that I got and I answered them, hence Q&A. So without further ado, let's jump into it. Question 1 comes from Detox Project, and they ask, do you plan on expanding your channel to more gear than audio? I think I'd love to see you review cameras, PC accessories, and other good stuff. Thank you very much for the question, and I really appreciate the vote of confidence, but I don't think I will be expanding outside of audio gear for what I review and what I cover on YouTube. The reason for that is I view my job on YouTube as helping people make more informed decisions on gear selection. Because of that, I feel a strong obligation to make sure that every single review, every single recommendation, every single video that I publish here is made to the best of my ability, and that means I need to make sure that I understand the equipment that I'm covering, make sure that I've spent sufficient time with what I'm reviewing, make sure that my mic placement and my testing parameters are consistent, make sure my assessment of the equipment is fair and I'm not being hyperbolic, and also make sure that I'm constantly trying to expand my knowledge about audio and recording. On the note of education, the more that I have learned about audio over the last decade, the more that I have realized I don't know a gosh darn thing. And although that is super exciting because I have so much more to learn, it is also terrifying knowing that I make videos when I don't know everything about the topic area. So instead of throwing myself into a bunch of hobbies, stretching myself thin, and potentially slipping and making more mistakes than I potentially already do, I think that I can best serve people and the YouTube community as a whole by focusing on the one thing in my life that I do pretty decently, and that would be audio. So I appreciate the vote of confidence, but I'm going to stick with reviewing audio gear on this channel. Next comment comes from Quantum Gaming Uploads. He asks, when recording in a non-treated room, what correct way to process audio and remove any noise? Thank you very much for the question, and in order to answer it, I am in my untreated space. I am overhead distance miking about 12 inches away from my mouth. Step 1 is to get your audio as clean as you can before you hit record. That means improving the signal-to-noise ratio, the signal being your voice, assuming that's what you're recording, and the noise being the ambient room tone, as well as the reverb and the reflections that are bouncing around your room. I have a video walking through a couple of steps on how to improve this. I will link that in the description, but now let's talk about plugins to remove reverb as well as ambient noise. First, let's talk about reverb. I'm going to shut up. I clapped 3 times. I am going to use those 3 claps to train a de-reverb plugin, which I will now engage. And this is how it sounds once I have a little bit of de-reverb going on this audio. Secondly, if you're referring to ambient noise that is consistent like an air conditioner, what we would use is called a spectral denoise plugin. I turned on an air con. It is going to be very apparent in the recording. I'm going to be quiet for a couple of seconds. And I am going to use those couple seconds of silence where I wasn't talking. All that was being captured is that ambient noise. I'm going to use that to train the spectral denoise plugin of the noise profile. And now I have engaged that spectral denoise plugin, and it should reduce a bit of that ambient noise. I would advocate not using these plugins if they can be avoided because de-reverb and spectral denoise can be very destructive and very apparent that you're doing processing to your audio. So if you're using them, use them sparingly, use them very minutely, but they can be used with great effect to tighten up your audio. Next question comes from Mike Larry 88888. He says, serious question. I'm part of the paranormal community, mostly on the debunking side of things. I have noticed that a lot of ghost hunting teams don't seem to use high quality mics. Logically, I think that they should be using high-quality mics with an extremely low noise floor so that when they boost the volume of playback, it won't be hissy and crappy. So my question is, which mics or types of mics would be good for the purpose of capturing sound on paranormal investigations? Before I answer that question, I want to include a quick demonstration of how self-noise can impact the recording of really quiet sound sources. For this demo, I have the AT2020, which has a self-noise of 20 dBA, and then I have the Rode NT1A, which has a self-noise of only 5 dBA. Here is the AT2020 9 inches away, speaking at a regular volume, and this is the Rode NT1A 9 inches away, speaking at a regular volume. This is the AT2020 9 inches away, but now I'm whispering like a creepy person. And now this is the NT1A 9 inches away, and I am still whispering like an absolute creep. This is the AT2020 4 feet away, and I am whispering because I'm a ghost. And this is the Rode NT1A 4 feet away, still whispering because I'm a ghost. This is the AT2020, and I am 10 feet away because I'm a ghost. And now this is the NT1A 10 feet away because I'm still a ghost. So what did we hear in those samples? The noise floor in the recordings made with the AT2020 was significantly louder than that of the NT1A, and the hiss was much more noticeable over my voice when we were 4 and 10 feet away. But once I got to be 10 feet away from the microphones, the ambient noise was horrendous on both mics, irrespective of the self-noise. So my thought is the self-noise of the microphones being used is not the ultimate limiting factor, rather it is the environmental noise that ends up being the biggest issue. With that being said, I still think ghost hunting teams ought to use the best gear they can afford, and a 4 dBA microphone like the NT1 Signature Edition or the Lewitt Sub-Zero is relatively affordable nowadays. But with those microphones, I think they will have to high pass them because the low frequencies seem to be where a lot of that ambient noise builds up. But I want to play the devil's advocate here. Are those phenomena that are being recorded actually vibrations in the air, or are they spirits that are using the static in these devices as a conduit to make their messages heard? And if that is the case, the high self-noise of the microphones and the preamps is going to be essential in order to capture these voices. Or if I want to be a complete buzzkill, maybe it's just not interesting TV to have a crystal clear recording that is low noise, where it is abundantly clear that nothing is actually being said, and recordings with a bit of hiss makes it mysterious and you're able to imply what is actually being heard. Next question comes from Chrissy G. He asks, I understand you don't like depending on YouTube income because it ain't much, but have you ever thought of one day making all of your income from creating content like many other content creators do? Is that something that you would like? Chrissy, that is a fantastic question, and I will admit, in the past, I did have a desire to go full-time and make 100% of my income from making videos online, but as time has gone on, the more glad I am that I don't do this full-time, that I never made that leap. I review audio capture technology, and that is not sexy, and that is not appealing to a huge audience. So if I relied solely on this endeavor for my income, for my livelihood, I feel as though it would be really easy to fall trapped to a number of different issues. Number one is I'd probably have to be a bit more aggressive with ads. For the entirety of this channel's life, I don't believe I have ever had a single mid-roll. That's because I don't like mid-rolls. I find them interruptive, and I want you to have the best viewing and listening experience. If I was reliant solely on the income from this channel, I likely wouldn't have that option. I would have to turn on mid-rolls and add a few more ads interspersed among the video. Or I guess I could do host-read ads telling you how to shave parts of your body and how to order food and cook at home, but I don't want to do that. The second issue I see is if I saw my views decreasing, I would feel the pressure to be a bit more hyperbolic in my coverage, be more hyperbolic in my thumbnails and my title to draw in those views, because as views decrease, ad views decrease. As ad views decrease, revenue decreases. If I'm reliant on that revenue, on that income to survive, I'm going to do whatever I can to get that money. So I would feel the pressure to be more hyperbolic and not have super duper extra sexy titles like Shure SM7B review/test compared to the RE20 SM7 U87AI, close paren. The third potential issue I see is if I didn't have enough revenue from ads, affiliate marketing, or any other income source, I might feel the temptation to actually accept money from one of these companies that offers to pay you to make a video covering their gear. To wrap this up in a nice little bow, the first issue I have is based solely on my own hatred of ads. I don't like having ads shoved down my throat. I don't like interruptive mid-rolls, so I'm not going to make you suffer through them. The second 2 points do have the potential to actually corrupt my ethics and make me biased, which would make all of my reviews, all of my recommendations completely useless. So I am glad that I don't do this full-time and likely never will do this full-time because that means I don't have to rely on the revenue from reviewing microphones to keep a roof over my head. And in my opinion, that allows me to avoid some more potential conflicts of interest. The last thing that I'll say is I am not poo-pooing or talking badly about content creators who choose to do it full-time. I'm just sharing my own personal ethics and my own code of conduct. Every single content creator has their own ethics and code of conduct. As long as they're transparent and open about it, I think that's great. To each their own. Rock and roll. The penultimate question comes from Hugh Richardson. He says, how many microphones do you now have in total? Hugh, thank you very much for the question. I would venture a guess that I own well above 200 mics now, but some of the microphones that I have are on loan from the companies, so I don't have an exact number for you. The reason that I included this question and comment in this video is because I don't know if I've said this publicly before, but microphone collection reveal at 500,000 subs. If we ever hit that number, I will speak into every single microphone that I own, the model number that it is. It will take me weeks to make, but if we ever hit 500,000 subs, I will do that. So if you want to see me and hear me suffering, go ahead and hit that subscribe button to get me closer to 500,000 subs. The final question comes from Seb Internet, and he says, how are you feeling, Bandrew? Seb, thank you very much for asking that. That is very kind of you. I am feeling fantastic. I think this is the best that I have ever felt in my entire life. I'm eating relatively healthy. I am exercising every single day. I just feel great. I am loving life. I'm a rockin' and a rollin', man. How are you doing? Thank you for asking. That's going to wrap up this Q&A video. I don't think I've ever done one of these on this channel before, but I got so many great questions, I'm going to have to split it up into multiple videos. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this, give this a thumbs up so I know to do more of these. If you hated it, give me a thumbs down so I know to shut my stupid trap. Thank you so much for coming by. Thank you so much for listening. I love you. I hope you have an amazing day. Talk to you later. Bye-bye. Whoa, whoa, boop.